First question, David. Describe the circumstances that caused you to look for a company like Fernando's. What was going on inside?
Sure. I work for an anti-hunger nonprofit organization, and we actually administer a statewide grant, and we have 37 subcontractors that cover a total of 45 service areas. And what that means is they have to report to us, they have to report numbers. It's an outreach grant, so they have to submit, go through an approval process for outreach materials daily, and also there's a fiscal component. They had to submit a budget to us. They submit monthly vouchers to us. So what was happening internally in my organization is that we wanted to create an online reporting system that would cover the scope of, the administration of this grant that we do. This is the main thing that we do, and it's a food stamp outreach grant.
Okay.
So the program side of the grant helps lower income families get onto food stamps, and they do positive messages about the program. The fiscal side of the grant does budgets and vouchers and things like that. So that was our decision internally. And then what happened is that we sought out. We had to get at least 5 bids. 5 potential consultants to work with. And Fernando was recommended to us by the Department of Health. Highly recommended, in fact. But with that said, we went through a very, very thorough, process, talking to several different companies, ultimately choosing 5 for them to submit a bid. Fernando being one of them, and consistently through the whole process, he provided us with solutions, how to make our vision possible. He was so incredibly easy to talk to and knowledgeable. He was very open. If, for example, I heard something from another person, and this was a learning curve for me and my organization. And Fernando really, very openly gave us a lot of explanation how things work. Which was so helpful during that process too.
Great. And how? So fundamentally, you were looking for an online reporting system.
Correct.
Okay. And how were you handling the process prior to that?
Prior to that, we were doing everything on paper. For the different aspects of things, we had Word documents, we had Excel documents. We used fax machines and emails.
Okay.
And some people sometimes did hard copies that they mailed in even.
Okay. And did you, what type of firm or what type of person did you think you were looking for, or did you know? Did you have much of a sense of the type of firm you were looking for? Or how did you go about finding the candidates?
The candidates, because we're a nonprofit organization, we really wanted to work with a consultant who understood that. We're not corporate America. We're not just hardcore, strictly business. We all wear our hearts on our sleeves. And we're really doing this because we want to make the best processes for the people that work directly in the field and deal with, that makes their job easier so they can help that many more clients. That's why we chose to do this. And so we wanted someone who appreciated that when conceptualizing a potential system, and was willing to understand and talk about what their daily job is, to care about it, and then to care enough to therefore make a system to reflect that the best that they could. And we also have, we're funded by the state. We have limited monies. We definitely had a budget for this. And this was like a one-time thing we could do. Someone who was also able to develop a system that we hope could meet our needs, but do it within the budget that we had. And that was also a big component too, as well. So, in looking, and in terms of how did I go about finding different people or different things, there were some different referrals that came in. We were very excited about Fernando when he was referred to us, because he had experience working with nonprofits like ours.
Yeah.
And even in the first conversation and in subsequent conversations, the way that Fernando, won our trust, so to speak, in the beginning and in favor, was because he was experienced and understood hunger nonprofits specifically, and more generally nonprofits. He understood that they have limited budgets and was willing to work with them to get the best that could be possible within the budget. That was a big thing. He very much understood that. He's very realistic. He seems to have a very strong understanding of what it means to work with people directly and to have a system that's going to be simple yet efficient. Because there's people that work in the field, they're caring about the person. They may not be the most technologically savvy person, and we definitely have a spectrum. And he seemed to grasp that. He had a familiarity with, he was able to give me examples of other nonprofit programs that he had helped design systems for or worked with, which made us feel very confident that he understood what we do and what we need, because he has experience. And I can say, contrasting that with most of the other candidates or people that I spoke to, if they didn't ultimately become one of the 5 candidates, did not have experience with nonprofits in that way. What was unique with Fernando, I think, too, is that the other candidates were very much, this is a company, there's potentially going to be a team of people. Fernando was much more personal, so even though he's, from HaonTech, it was much more personal. You knew that the person you were talking to is a person that you're going to be working with, and that had a very different effect, and I think came across differently in his proposal too, than the other candidates. It was either the representative or the boss or a team leader, and I never even got to speak to those that might actually do the work.
Right,
So that was, Fernando stood out in that way.
Do you recall kind of the top priority criteria that you had when you went out to look, and get the bids?
And get the bids. One was, do they have experience with nonprofit, creating systems for the nonprofit world? So that was one thing. The second thing was, ultimately, could they do what we wanted them to do? And I can tell you that Fernando had a solution very quickly, had solutions, and could explain how he was going to achieve everything we wanted. The other candidates, depending who it was, for some of them, felt certain things weren't possible or couldn't be achievable, whereas Fernando, after explaining it to him, instantly had a solution, and that's been consistent through the whole process. But it seemed like he had the answers. He was able to achieve what we wanted, and that was the second thing. The third thing, which ultimately decided the bid, was the budget. That those are probably the 3 top things. Experience with nonprofits. Could they do what we want them to do, give us the solution, what we want, and then thirdly, within the budget that we can afford it.
Okay.
I think the fact that Fernando personally was the first person we spoke to and was the person that went through this whole process just made a big difference. From the beginning, you knew that when he understood what we wanted, it was understood. It was not going to have to be re-explained or potential miscommunication with like 3 or 4 other people. And that made it better. The one-on-one, I thought, I don't know, that the others weren't proposing that.
Okay. Do you feel like the online reporting system, do you think taking it online has saved you money?
It has achieved things for us that were not possible before, and the amount of And it's made us, yes, I think it's made us more effective and more efficient. And once we're sailing with this and it's fully implemented, it's going to save a lot of time. And time translates into money, for workers and nonprofits. And also greater productivity in terms of the workers, because instead of doing all these reports by hand, they can have real-time tallies as they go, and that allows them to have more time for clients.
David, those are all my questions. You've been fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, good. And if you have any more, please feel free, and I can definitely give some more thought. I hope it was helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much.
Have a great day.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.